It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Tuesday. Gary, what do you know?
I don't know. All right. So you and I have talked about the fact that, probably we'll start judging the polls in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We're looking at the polls. And there's polls out there that show that Trump is still in the lead, that Trump really didn't lose. And one poll in Pennsylvania that shows he isn't. Then there's other polls out there, and these are minor polls. Mm-hmm. They're not even listed. Some of these polls are not even listed on the group, in November and December as the most accurate polling out there.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, what's really going on? How do you get an indication about how people are feeling, or even how liberals are feeling? Right.
Right.
We've talked a lot about that. My acquaintances, friends of mine who have been Democrats for years, who were so vocal during the Obama administration, that were so vocal during the first Trump administration, have gone completely quiet.
Yeah.
And it's so tough. We know the narrative that's coming from the party on the federal level, but you really have no idea. We had the Democrat delegate from Texas call last week.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to vote for Harris. Furious as to what's going on inside the party. You notice the one thing that you don't hear from the Harris campaign is, we're going to be the party of transparency.
That's true. They dropped that word completely.
It's completely gone.
Around.
It's like, no. And they're blunt now, and we'll get to this. They're blunt now, the surrogates, in defending her, not answering any questions.
Right.
But where does the public and maybe the middle or the liberals stand? All you have to do is go to Jon Stewart last night.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about the DNC. Every point he makes, we've made already.
Yeah.
In the last couple of days that we were on the air following the DNC.
Right.
You ready?
All right.
Stop what you're doing unless you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
You'll want to hear this. Here we go.
They had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," followed immediately by a very happy billionaire. It's all okay if it's our billionaire. Guys making fun of people for going to Yale, and a bunch of people who went to Yale. The Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators and
picture of Bill Clinton.
Yeah, it's just, that was a picture of Bill Clinton, as Eric said. Here we go, continuing.
There goes that booking.
And the length of time, and they flash to this audience is going crazy.
That wasn't just laughter. That wasn't obligatory. John said something that's supposed to be funny. We're supposed to laugh. Laughter. That was comedy concert laughter. Like the floor just fell out kind of laughter.
That is the kind of moment that if I was a political consultant for the Harris campaign would make me panic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it shows, and we do this a lot, but really over the last couple of days, we have played what Democrats are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And our opinion that we have had, our opinions that we've had for a long time about this the Democratic Party, about this party, and what many Democrats are now specifically saying, especially on the issues, is exactly the analysis we've been making for the longest time about where the Democratic Party is.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I still am blown away by, Brett Weinstein, who, again, was a lifelong liberal Democrat, coming out and saying they're the party of racism.
Yeah.
Because it's something that we've said for the longest time, the Democrat, to no pushback at all.
Yeah.
Because every Democrat listening right now knows through identity politics, which now has morphed into Jewish hatred. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows that the party that is blunt about identity politics, they're stereotyping of people by groups and not judging people as being an individual, is a Democratic Party. We've known it for a while now. We've known it for the longest time.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it almost since the beginning of being a talk radio host, almost 35 years ago. Mm-hmm. And for a Democrat like Brett Weinstein to just come out bluntly and say it, he didn't say identity politics. They used the fancy word identity politics. It's like, as we've come up, I'm amazed Kamala hasn't come up with, it's compassionate communism.
Yeah.
But that crowd, what were they responding to? The absolute hypocrisy. And when you laugh like they did, it means they already knew that in their head. It wasn't something new to them.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
And
the best comedy, this is what the Babylon Bee is finding out,
is the truth.
The best comedy is not parody. The best comedy is when parody actually becomes the truth.
Observational comedy is the killer. I mean, it's what George Carlin was all about. It's what many comedians are all about. It's Seinfeld. Seinfeld basically became a billionaire at pointing at the truth, in a very funny way. These are individuals here, and I'd love to see the demographic breakdown of that audience. Because there is something. I now have officially 3 grandchildren over the age of 18. Their generation is, and I don't know that those 3 fit into a category because they were raised in Texas. They were raised by good parents. They are good people. I'm trying to say they're not liberals. They're actually, I don't know. They could, we've never really sat down and had discussions. They don't talk about it a lot. They're all 3 in college. But their generation, though, their friends, and I do ask them questions about, what their friends are, what they do, what they like doing, trying to get a grasp on the trends. And they are more pragmatic and to the point. They see right through the BS. And it's likely because they were raised with a computer in their hand. My granddaughters got phones, I think, at the age of 12, middle school. And they were always smartphones. So having a computer, then the school gives you a computer. Public schools now, theirs did, gave them all iPads to use. And, you're constantly aware of what's going on. Now, there was, I think, a huge problem in that regard with the way that COVID was handled, because they were bombarded by stuff that was over the top, incorrect, and I think created a lot of fear in young minds. Different discussion, but I think politically it will be interesting to watch how they develop, because they will just absolutely call you out. We were on vacation This was not this summer, but last summer. And I said to number 3, I said, number 3, you know why? I said, you know what's wrong? And she goes, those stupid liberals. And she's just looking at her phone, she's being smarmy toward me. And I said, actually, I wasn't going to say that, but since you started it, they get straight to the point. They are critical thinkers, but I can't tell you that, okay, that motivates them to do this or that.
Well, let's say some are critical thinkers.
Well,
all yet.
I would say this. I'm applying that to my granddaughters.
Okay.
And they're friends the same way, because we allow their friends to hang out at certain events that we have for the family and everything else. They are critical thinkers. They're smart. They're not stupid. I just don't know what, as a group, they're motivated by. Outside of my grandkids, I don't know what motivates them. I don't know where they go politically. I do know that what you hear in this laughter in this audience, the psychology behind that laughter, is something that it sounds like that audience has been waiting to laugh at those observations since the convention. And they finally had a great outlet for that laughter in Jon Stewart. That's what it sounds like. They were watching it going, oh my God, collectively as a group, what are they doing? Isn't this guy a billionaire? Didn't this person, Clinton, go to Yale? They talk about, protecting women. Then they put Bill Clinton on center stage one night. And, all of these things, and they're in their mind, they're just like, oh my gosh. And it's very cringe. That was the release. That right there, that kind of laughter that's not self-deprecating humor. That's not a scenario a story that John had to tell. That was an observation, a very simple and honest observation about whatever that was they called a convention last week. And that audience collectively had been dying to laugh out loud, and they got their chance.
I'll say, when it comes to young people, the ones that want to get the truth. You and I talked about this before, where the Democrats try to tell you that you can't find the truth because of misinformation, right? And that's why they need to stop it, even though this administration, I don't know of an administration on the issues that has lied more than this one. I don't know. Not in my lifetime has an administration lied on the issues as often as this administration has. But if you want to find the truth, and remember what Maureen Dowd said about her liberal friends, when they don't like what they hear, they just shut the curtains, they turn off the media, and they don't want to know. They have a certain narrative in their head, and they don't wish to know the truth. Right. She wrote that at what? That was like 5-6 years ago, wasn't it? It was a long time ago when she actually wrote that column. But if you want to find the truth, it's never been easier. We know we're talk show hosts. I've been a talk show host since the late 80s. And so there was no computers. It was a lot harder if someone came to me on the air and said, well, did you hear about this? It might take me a week to find the answer. There was nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. You basically had to go. I remember when I wanted to find out stuff, I had to go to the public library. Mm-hmm. I actually had to go to the microfilm and look up different stories. You didn't have an immediate answer. Now you can have an immediate answer. And with X the way that it is, well, but there's misinformation on X. There's total misinformation from Harris X. I'm sorry, that's the poll. That's the pollster. From the Biden-Harris administration on the issues, it's consistent line. You rarely get the truth from this administration. It's easy to find the truth on X.
Yeah.
It's not hard at all. You may have to go through it, but within a couple of minutes, boom, you can get it. So if you're a young person and you want to know the truth, you can get it. And we know that because of the polling on Biden for the longest time, where the public overwhelmingly, landslide numbers, knew that he wasn't fit to be president.
I think there's a mixture of this of the youngest generation. Let's just say the 18 to 34, maybe the 18 to 28-year-old that will tolerate a certain amount of lies and BS and delusional thought. When you package it all together the way they did last week, I think there's a great frustration among them that are liberal that look at it and go, my gosh, this is the best they can do. This is our future. I want to support this party. I've been brought up to be a liberal. I've been fully indoctrinated by the schools. They're probably not saying that out loud. But they're thinking, these are the Democrats that I'm supposed to be. I'm against the Republicans, but tell me why I'm supporting these guys? They're looking at it, and it's just absolute chaos. And I think that's what you hear in this laughter. It's like, oh, my gosh, what's that? What is that? And I think another thing, too, when they're all dealing with reality. They're having to put gas in their cars at a very young age when they're not earning much money. They're having to buy things. They know what's going on. They see crime in major cities. They know what's going on, and they're wondering who's going to fix it. They're dealing with something, and they didn't hear any answers. And this, whatever this show was they put on last week, was just laughable.
Well, it was a immediate recognition of hypocritical BS.
Yep.
And if the American public can recognize BS, liberals have a very tough time from now on.
Especially their young base.
Yep. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Keep your engine humming in the heat this summer by keeping up with preventive maintenance. Think your PM is complete after your oil is changed? Think again. There's grease, transmission fluids, and gear oil to consider too. Transmission fluid, for example, prevents wear of gears, bearings, and bushings, protects against corrosion, and acts as a heat transfer fluid. You may not think about this every time you get behind the wheel, but as soon as it's not doing its job, you'll notice. Misapplication of transmission fluid can mean reduced fuel economy and abrupt or hard shifts if the static friction is too high. It can also cause sluggish operation at low temperatures if the viscosity is too high and leaking through seals if viscosity is too low.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Juan, what a zoo we had yesterday on the debate. By the way, Harris can't win this.
No.
She cannot, because the majority of Americans remember when Biden, and remember, it was the Biden campaign that set the rules of no open mics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They set those rules. And then Harris demanded that Trump abide by the deal that Biden made, the Biden campaign made, not her campaign made. And if he didn't do it, he was chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump goes, okay, we'll do it. A lot of his supporters. I know I did. I said, no, get another debate in there, too. Get another debate, get Fox News. And yesterday, then her campaign coming out and saying, no, we don't want quiet mics.
Right.
Wow. We'll get to that because that just turned into a zoo yesterday. And by the way, a zoo that she can't win.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow, this is just hilarious what's going on with the debate. And by the way, Harris can't win this because the American public would rather have. That's how they sort of pushed it last time. The American public doesn't want interruptions.
Right.
The American public in a debate wants the microphones off when the other one's speaking. Over and over again. But this is hilarious. I just love this here. This is Politico. Just show you the way they cover this. In June, President Joe Biden's campaign came to an agreement with Trump's. There would be two debates conducted by mutually negotiated rules. One of Biden's team's demands, which the Trump team agreed to, was that microphones will be turned off throughout the debate except for the candidate whose turn it is to speak, as CNN announced on June 15th. But Biden is no longer running for president, and the Harris campaign wants the microphone to be hot at all times during the ABC debate, as has historically been the case at presidential debates. But Biden's not running. Why are we going by the Biden rules? Because Harris insisted. Politico leaves out that context here in their explanation. Then I go to National Review. What is appalling, even to the confirmed cynic, is the rank hypocrisy of the Harris campaign. Do they think we were all born into this life in the last 10 minutes, unburdened by memories? It was in the week of August 4th that Team Harris, with the assistance of the mainstream media, was mocking the Trump campaign for wanting to renegotiate the terms of the presidential debates and digging their heels in. Trump's argument, reasonably enough, was that he had agreed to those terms with Joe Biden, a man who was no longer running. The Harris campaign insisted that Trump was bound by the technical language of the contract his team had signed, which referred to only generic party candidates and not Biden by name. So no extra debates, just the one with the Democratic Party's mystery candidate, explicitly running a mystery campaign. Open the box on January 20th and see what's inside. They won the argument. Talking about the Democrats. They won the argument. Now, they insist the rules be changed. They themselves know they cannot contractually demand this. They are bound, which is why the issue is likely to fade away. But it's nevertheless rather comical to see the Harris campaign trying so transparently to plan their own Elizabeth Warren, when she persisted, viral TikTok clip weeks in advance. They desperately want video footage clipped out of context, however they need to, of Trump interrupting Harris, to which she responds with the regal, "Excuse me, Donald, but I'm speaking now." Girl boss moment.
Yeah.
Trump would be a fool to do anything except insist on sticking to the rules as they are. More than any other danger right now, Kamala Harris dreads one thing: being forced to answer a question on national television without anyone there to bail her out by interrupting or changing the subject. Oh, did we talk about this yesterday, or did I just read it yesterday? That I saw one of the campaign managers for Harris saying, "Oh no, Waltz and her plan on doing a sit-down interview together."
Told you.
Where she won't do it alone.
No, I think he's actually going to be the interviewer. I think that's what they mean.
It may be because we already had one of them. The context I got was if they did the interview,
they would both side by side.
Yes, side by side.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, Kamala Harris. Think about this. This is a woman we want to be president of the United States. Mm-hmm. She's afraid to answer a question.
Yeah. Everyone knows why. I saw yesterday, a lot of people, well, it's clear her campaign doesn't want her out. We've been saying from the beginning, she doesn't want her out. She doesn't have the confidence in herself.
But as they put here, and this is why we insisted that Trump should have said, no, I want 2 debates.
Yep.
I want another debate because you've changed up. Because he can win that one. You get one on ABC, I get one on Fox. ABC's moderators will not ask Harris the questions she deserves to be asked about her obscene prior political positions, her responsibility for a failed administration, or her fantasy campaign. That is Trump's task to prosecute. On rebuttal, it may be the only chance he gets. And that's true. Wow. It's just amazing.
It's, again, she's hoping for a viral moment out of it. That's what they all hope for. Used to call it a soundbite. But you don't get that. You have to speak on your own, and only your mic is open. And by the way, you let that go. You let it go, you let it go, you let... When Biden was running, same thing. Neither one of them are capable of speaking, Biden nor Harris. But if she's on stage opposite me, no, I yield my time to her. Please, let her finish her thought as she rambles a word salad into nothingness.
Well, as they write here in National Review, and we talked about the Politico article, you're not telling the truth here. And they said the story is predictably being incorrectly reported online as a crisis, and that there's anything really to discuss here. Politico's Zach Stanton describes the 2 campaigns as being at an impasse over the issue, but there is, in fact, no impasse at all. Harris's campaign is trying to change rules it already contractually agreed to, and Trump's campaign is having none of it. They are not fooled and are not taking the bait. Trump spokesperson Jason Miller said if Kamala Harris is not smart enough to repeat the messaging points her handlers want her to memorize, that's their problem. My guess is that they're looking for a way to get out of the debate with President Trump, end of quote.
Mm-hmm.
She can't win that. The thing is, she can't win the argument.
No, it's, there just isn't, there's no room for it. They've already got it in place, and it's clearly trying to make this moment because they know they can pull Trump into the back and forth with the mic open. And you can't. You can't with the mic closed. You can't get that viral moment you're looking for. One of the things one of the reasons you change the rules or you negotiate the rules on a case-by-case basis, and certainly want to renegotiate if the candidates change, is because they know each other. They know what their tendencies are. With the Trump campaign and Biden being the opposition on a debate stage, you know that Biden is very reactive. Well, she believes Trump is reactive. Leave the mics open. Because that's my best chance at getting some kind of, viral moment. Now she's left to answer questions. And she's perfect. I don't know anybody that would argue this. She's perfectly capable of answering questions. Right? 34 days and counting, whatever it is.
Well, you see now the growing surge. Quentin Tarantino, you saw, no, she shouldn't answer any questions. It's
right.
All the Democrats are now anti-transparency.
Well, because you know where they are. Because they're at the point, all right, screw it. She can't answer questions. Let's get out there and build the biggest wall of BS we can and make every excuse for her, because the last thing we want is her answering questions. They know it. It's garbage. She shouldn't answer questions. All right. because she can't.
Well, the interesting thing is,
And Trump is the chicken.
we talked about, and Scott Jennings has talked about this a lot on CNN, and we've talked about it also, that one of the reasons that Biden isn't in the White House, and one of the reasons that, of course, when he's not there, Karine Jean-Pierre does not give press conferences, is the Democrats are trying to make the case at the White House there's nobody there. That she is a challenger, she's not an incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
And they do not want any of her standing next to him. It's exactly what you and I said about last Monday.
Yeah.
After last Monday, we said, don't be surprised if you never see those two together again.
Right.
And you've got the question with what's going on at the Middle East right now, what's going on in Ukraine right now. You saw some of the Russian attacks on civilian infrastructure, trying to get the power out there. That's one of the things they're concerned about. The Russians trying to destroy the grid totally in Ukraine,
right?
So they can't survive the winter. All this stuff going on, and the president is nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen.
Right.
Completely hiding. Nothing's going on at the White House.
Yeah.
You don't have Karine Jean-Pierre isn't giving the daily press conferences where the questions would come up, and the claim, National Review making the claim, this is calculated. The Democratic Party's political prospects now depend on creating the general perception that the White House is unoccupied. The vice president is running a campaign predicated on the implied premise that she represents a change from the unpopular president she served for the last 3.5 years.
Right, yeah.
Anything that reminds Americans that Joe Biden still occupies the Oval Office, in theory at least, runs counter to that objective. So Biden will keep his head down, even amid the rapid deterioration of the threat environment abroad, lest he compel the press to cover his ongoing presidency. Noah Rothman there from National Review.
Yeah, and it's spot on. We kind of talked about it, I think it was on yesterday's show, with everything being on the brink in the Middle East right now. And the commander-in-chief is nowhere to be found. And you don't want to even parade him in front of a camera or do anything because it reminds people, oh, yeah, she's part of that. And you can't have that.
If you want any evidence, I mean, yesterday, the Biden disappearing, Harris trying to, what I believe is back out of the debate.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at this, they really, we've said this before, we've said this for years, the Democrat Party believes the people that vote for them are complete idiots and morons. They've now taken it to the new level. We can BS, we can pathologically lie, we can claim we're about transparency when we hide our candidate again.
Yep.
And the stupid American public will vote for us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see whether they're right in November, won't we?
I guess so.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. We are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Coming up following the top of the hour, Tulsi Gabbard now endorses Donald Trump. We'll get to that here in a little bit. The whole letter, see the letter that Zuckerberg wrote to Jim Jordan?
Yeah.
About how the Biden administration pressured them.
Right.
We'll actually read some from the letter, coming up here, but just, wow. It's everything, everything that the Democrats said that we were lying about, they were lying about, when you think about it, everything.
Right. It's, that whole misinformation BS, they were controlling what didn't go along with their narrative through social media. We now know that with Facebook. We know it now on multiple levels, not just the laptop, but on COVID and a number of things. And, of course, we know about the Twitter files. So that's where they believed, I think, they would be able to always control the language, that liberals believed, well, these are our friends here. The tech people are our friends. These social media companies are our friends. And by all accounts, in fact, Jack, who came up with the whole Twitter thing, he let the FBI move right in. And they were controlling it. I'd love to have the conversation with Zuckerberg. Why now? What's the concern now? Why send the letter? What's going on in your mind? Do you believe more people are going to find out about it and it's going to burn your brand? So, man, a lot of questions there.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, he is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, I made a cup of coffee.
You did? Radio coffee.
That's pretty good radio coffee, though. It's really not. It's not that bad. It's okay. I was going to say one more thing on the debate. No, the continuing saga and drama as the debate agreement turns. The one reason, and I know they want Trump. They want Trump to agree to a change in the rules. We all know that.
Right.
I don't believe he should, because you have now Trump, from what we know, being advised by Tulsi Gabbard weeks upon weeks out. Trump doesn't have a hard job to do in a debate.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I'm looking at it now because he's agreed to the one debate.
Yeah, right.
So it's where we are as analyzing it. She has much more to lose than he does. Why? We already know who he is. Number two, it really doesn't matter what ABC asks her when they go for the rebuttal on it, or ask him any other question. He can just say, you're ABC and you're not asking the right questions. You need to ask her this, this, and this. Did she believe this or does she believe it? All he has to do is hit her on inflation, the border, Afghanistan. Inflation, the border, Afghanistan, and come up with, and I'm sure they're doing it because I know if Tulsi Gabbard is in there, that's what they're looking at, which is, do you believe her now or do you believe her back then?
Right.
That's the thing. The reason that she won't, and if she doesn't do any interviews by then, what an attack, what a talking point.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's here. She wanted to change the rules because she knows the American people is saying, who is she? Was she telling us the truth back then, or is she telling us the truth now? And that's what they fear, because when the microphone goes back to her, can she fill the time? Remember, Biden didn't fill the time.
No.
It was like,
No.
You got 30 seconds if you want it. No, okay, no, I'm done.
Oh, she can fill the time. The problem with her filling the time is what everybody fears, and that is the word salad that just grinds it into nothing.
Right.
Where she repeats one word, she focuses on one word, it comes back around and around and around until the problem that she has, she does not exude confidence, self-confidence at all in that setting. Everyone knows it. And now the left is building excuses for her, including the media, building excuses as to why she shouldn't do press conferences. It's the same reason she shouldn't do debates when you're actually telling the truth, and that is she doesn't have the confidence to do it.
Well, it's the reason she shouldn't be a candidate for president.
It's the whole point.
If you can't take questions, you shouldn't. Boy, I can see this. If you won't do a press conference and you won't take questions, you should not be a nominee for president.
Well, she's calling Trump a chicken on the whole debate thing. It's again, what is it, 34 days?
No, wait, I think it's maybe 36, 37 days.
So who's the chicken?
Yeah.
It's really now got into bizarre territory. It was bizarre that she didn't run to the microphones. Hey, everybody. And then just open up. We'll take some questions. What do you got?
And on anything, for example, if ABC asks him, because I can guarantee the questions will be January 6th, and will you accept the results of the election?
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to deflect, which I'm sure that's what Tulsi Gabbard is telling him. And the people are telling him, got to deflect. Don't answer those. You don't need to answer those questions. Except to say, I wasn't involved in the riot that happened afterwards. That simple. I told them to go peacefully. I said peacefully protest. But that's water under the bridge. The American public's already digested where they stand on that. And, of course, if it's an honest election, I'll support the results. Right?
Sure. I
That's
think
all you guys say.
Yeah, in fact, I think you could even be quicker at changing the topic and deflecting. One of the things that we've seen his surrogates do repeatedly is, I'm hopeful, maybe they're coaching him or he's watching over their shoulder them do that. And they've been very good at, and I think J.D. Vance is good at this, Ramaswamy is very good at this. What we really need to be talking about is how we're going to fix the problems right now. We'll see what happens on Election Day, but what we need to, the reason we're here tonight is to demonstrate what each of us want to do as president. I'm proven. I have a proven track record. The American people would love to go back to the spending power they had when I was president. That's a fact.
I would also do what you've seen in the campaign. It's something that you and I have said for a long time. We said this when Trump ran in 2016, and Trump supporters didn't like it when we said it. Now it's the narrative of Trump supporters. We have always said Trump is not that conservative. He's a moderate.
Mm-hmm.
He is viewed as a conservative because, for example, a closed border was a moderate position. It's always been a moderate position. He became a radical conservative when he said, well, it's the law, we should enforce it. But now you have, we talked about Ramaswamy saying it a couple of weeks ago. Dan Crenshaw was on with Serpent and Bill Maher. You see that Serpent? Oh, we're talking about James Carville. Mm-hmm. Is calling, for example, you heard he called for Bobby Kennedy. He goes, if we had a more compassionate nation, he'd be institutionalized.
Right.
But, and then he was throwing out the weird thing on Bill Maher, and I'm thinking to myself, James Carville calling anybody else weird? Yeah, right. I mean, my God. I mean, it's like, it's like, what in the hell? It's like, that got me to laugh. They're weird. My God. look at you. I mean,
Right.
But Dan Crenshaw was on, and they're talking about all this stuff. Well, at the campaign, at the campaign, there were no former presidents. It shows that the Republican Party goes, I don't care. He just said, I don't care. You guys, basically, you guys care about this. I don't care whether, all I care about is where the party is going message-wise, and Donald Trump is a moderate. The positions he holds, the American people agree with. That's the only thing that matters. You guys like to play this little game of, he had past presidents and the other one didn't. That shows a change in the Republican Party. And as Crenshaw said, yeah, it shows, and you and I have said this all, sort of in a way said this yesterday before I even saw him on there, which is everything that Romney and Bush and people complained about the Republican Party not being moderate, it now is. Now, you and I've got some problems with it, but we're just talking politics right now. We said Trump becomes president. We may have problems with the with some of the things that he proposes or Republicans in Congress propose. We always have.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't anything new. We're conservative libertarian. As we said, though, a while back, this election is not about the day-to-day politics.
No, because I do have confidence that there will be at least an effort to put a stop to what's going on in the weaponization of the Department of Justice and lawfare and everything else. I don't know if they'll be successful at that, but I do believe there will be an honest effort in that respect.
I agree with the old school liberals who believe in freedom of the press, like Brett Weinstein, who believe in freedom of religion, who I don't know if he believes in the Second Amendment. Well, Waltz does, because remember, his first effort at masculinity, which failed miserably,
was to dress up like Elmer Fudd.
Right, have a gun. We're Democrats. We've got guns.
Kill the wabbit.
That's all right. I'm done. I'm going home. We can't do any better. I'm going home.
Yeah, it is so weird right now. It honestly is weird. It really is. The entire, everywhere you look, this is so Alice in Wonderland.
Oh my God.
Politically right now.
I'm sorry, that's funny, but my point was on Trump being a moderate, and I wanted to get back to this. I don't even know it's called Ruthless Podcast. All I know is Ramaswamy was on it. I don't recognize anybody on it except Ramaswamy. Mm-hmm. But here's what they said, and there seems to be a narrative now, and Trump should say it. I'm the moderate. These are the radicals. Right. I'm a moderate, and throw out 2 or 3 positions. He goes, look, on the border, you see her ads now. Her ads are showing my wall.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because a secure border was always a moderate position.
Right.
I just insisted that we secure the border, and that made me a radical in Democrats' eyes. Mm-hmm. Now they know the public agrees with me, and Trump has an easy job because it's only the border, inflation, Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I would throw out anti-Semitism with Israel.
Yeah, the Middle East, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that's, which is really under the umbrella of national security, but the anti-Semitism is right. Domestic, that we've seen, and the radicalism in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, that's what's shown the blatant racism. I mean, that's so blunt coming out.
Yeah.
And Brett Weinstein saw it. That's why he said the racist party is the Democrats, which is true. I'm glad finally some Democrats are seeing what we have said. We weren't working together. I've been saying it for 35 years. Mm-hmm. Well, 35 years next month.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm totally accurate. And so the modern identity politics movement started with Justice Thomas, and then early radio conservative talk show hosts.
Mm-hmm.
that came out.
Yeah.
You know, you might say it started even earlier in the 70s with Thomas Sowell, where he was eviscerated by the left.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
came to the forefront in the 90s, I believe, in the early 90s. But here it is. Here's Ramaswamy, and here's what they're talking about here.
I love the media shorthand of Donald Trump and the far-right MAGA extremists, which, to your point, ideologically speaking, Donald Trump and the movement that he has built is not particularly ideologically far-right in context.
Very practical, actually.
Right. And so you're right. I don't think there is any sort of discussion on a national level about serious ideology whatsoever. It's basically just whatever you can slap on a bumper
And you could
sticker.
debate whether that itself is a good thing or a bad thing. I think you could make the case either way. But the irony is they wanted a less ideological GOP, and that's what they got, right? They wanted that back in the 2000s. That's exactly what they got. And yet now the threats are more histrionic than ever, which I don't think actually – I mean, it actually says a lot of what you get out of the Democratic Party isn't particularly ideological either. And I think each party has made a habit of defining itself in opposition to the other, that both of them in some ways have lost their sense of what they actually stand for.
I would disagree. I think the Democrat Party is extremely ideologically far left. I would disagree. I don't know where Ramaswamy's coming with that. I would disagree. I would say that you have an ideologically extreme, because everybody has an ideology. To say you're not ideological is stupid. They're political parties. They all have it in some ways. In fact, claiming we're not ideological is being ideological because you've got to stand for something. You have some ideas out there. So, but I would stick to the fact that, because it's true, the Republican Party, part of the problem that you and I have had over the last 15 years, 20 years, is the Republican Party is going too left for us, especially on economic ideas.
Right.
But the fact is they're a moderate party right now. It's what the Bushes and the Romneys claimed that they wanted, and now they got it. And it's, you know, the people that work for them, you saw that story yesterday, endorsing Kamala Harris.
Yeah, 200, over 200, according to USA Today.
And now they want insanity.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden these moderate Republicans really weren't moderate Republicans. They were insane leftists.
Yep.
866-90-RED-I.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Smart owner-operators make every single week as profitable as possible. One trip is not enough time to be considered profitable or unprofitable, and an entire month may be too much time to manage. 1 week is the right amount of time to deal with efficiently. To do so, look at the advantages and disadvantages of every day of the week. Match trip length to the optimum day of the week. Plan to deliver on the day you have the best opportunity of getting a load. Your personal weekly plan will vary depending on the weekly delivery flow cycle of your region, typical length of haul, personal requirements, and other factors. What's important is to have a specific weekly plan that helps you be successful. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, yeah, Trump actually has all he needs to, be coached on is to bring everything back to inflation, the border, national security, and foreign policy. But everything needs to basically be, where does she stand? She won't do, and I have a feeling they're going to do one before the debate so she can claim, that she did one interview, and that would be the interview that they would do that they were promoting yesterday. Well, she may do one with him, with Waltz, where they do it together, which then she has the crutch of Waltz. And
that way, and they can both say they did one.
Exactly. They both can say
Which is stupid.
They did one, but the public will know, will she do a press conference? And that's what you hit her on. The interview was in a press conference.
Right.
If the two idiots overnight can understand it, so can you. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Carney, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose.
And thank you.
All right. We have always said from the very beginning of this campaign that all Trump has to do is make political ads in their own words.
Yep.
That's all you have to do.
Yep.
And this is a 27-second ad, which leaves 3 seconds for him to say, I'm Donald Trump and I approve of this ad. This ad is saying, this is the debate that we want, and it's Harris on one side of the screen and then Harris responding on the other side of the screen, debating herself.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you call a very, very effective ad.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Everyday prices are too high. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes. That is called Bidenomics. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's not much left at the end of the month. Bidenomics is working. The price of housing has gone up. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
Very simple.
Yep.
Very simple ad. And they can't say they're taking it out of context because they're obviously doing it to screens that this is a debate against herself.
Right.
That she said it obviously she said that at two different times, which is the point that you're trying to make. Very effective ad in her own words.
Yeah, it's so easy to do, and the problem is that right now there really is no way for the Harris campaign to counter that. One of the problems that I pointed out weeks ago, that if you stay silent, then others will do the talking for you.
Yeah.
Well, your opposition will do the talking for you as well. So we see the left media now trying to make excuses as to why she shouldn't talk to the media. But we see also that not just the official surrogates, but the everyday surrogates who understand she's not qualified to be president are making viral things that are going, gangbusters. It's everywhere. And it's impossible to ignore. Countering that is the problem. When they can control social media, then maybe they had the upper hand on messaging. That's one of the things when you look at 2020. Zuckerberg coming out and writing that letter, Zuckerberg and what he has said before on the whole laptop thing goes right in line with what we know happened at Twitter. And they really did believe, especially in 2020, that they would control everything forever because they were controlling everything at that moment. In that moment, politically, this is how Biden was able to run from the basement. They had the excuse of COVID, and then beyond that, the control of social media. Now social media has viral moments of its own. They don't have so much control over that. In fact, at X, you don't have any control if you're the government over that. And it's the viral moments are working in Trump's favor. We'll see what kind of impact it has.
I think, because I think it's incredible what we're seeing in American history, that you have a candidate for president of the United States that, number one, didn't receive one primary vote.
Mm-hmm.
The coronation happened with the elite of the Democratic Party, that you had in two separate elections a candidate for the Democrats that has not gotten one vote. That sticks in people's minds. It's like, okay, well, what's going on here?
Right.
You know, you look at the Democrat delegate Mike, who called us last week from Amarillo.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, my God, you know, he's not going to can't vote for it. Just furious at what the Democrats have become, as they're the ones that are claiming to promote democracy, yet blatantly, it's obvious on everything they don't believe in a democracy. And when Democrats start to recognize that, look, when we look at the Barry Weisses, the Matt Taibbi's, the Matt Schellenbergers, all part of the Twitter files. When you see Jonathan Turley, when you see Alan Dershowitz from the legal part, you've got the media, you've got the legal part and legal academia. Brett Weinstein coming out, Tulsi Gabbard coming out, and all talking about the fact that this is bigger than the day-to-day politics, that it's risen above that. When you have, and we'll play the audio again, we'll play it maybe twice again, because I think it's really telling. You're always looking for signs. Where does the public stand, and where does the middle and the left stand? When you hear what happened, you hear what happened on, not see, because we're radio. When you hear what happened on Jon Stewart last night, you're going to go, whoa. Because he just tore apart the DNC and the crowd was going wild. They recognized the hypocritical BS that's coming from the Democratic Party. And if you recognize there's one thing to BS about small things, there's another thing to completely BS about the big picture and all the big issues that America faces today, especially when reality has become the Democrats' biggest political opposition. That we already know. We have felt what the policies will do by inflation. They're trying to blame it on food. That has failed, by the way. Would you agree that's failed now?
Yeah.
You know, when you've got the Democrats out there and the Democrat media reporting that, well, and then now it's become even the Democrat media and, you know, all media promoting the fact that, okay, the first thing that she comes out with, it's universally panned from day one. And it continues to be right now. Nobody except somebody like a radical like Elizabeth Warren is on her side, and she doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so when you see where this is going, it's really incredible, because the biggest one, okay, I'm not going to say the biggest, one of the major mistakes that campaign has made is allowing Trump and his surrogates, because they're willing to be cross-examined everywhere, define who she is, and her surrogates can't do it because they don't have the talking points.
Right.
She's not giving them any talking points. You don't know where she stands. So the surrogates can't help. Harris's surrogates can't help define her, and she can't define herself because she will not at all be involved in being cross-examined about the things. Forget about the issues that she believes being cross-examined. She won't be cross-examined as to what the hell do you really believe?
Well, that's the problem. You know, when you think about it, think about like for her surrogates. Think about it like being hired on, and then they train you. Okay, this is our company's mission statement. This is the culture here at our company. You work at Chick-fil-A. The answer to every question is my pleasure. that that kind of thing. Hey, could you check the oil in my car? Do that in the drive-through. My pleasure. They actually might do it. But those are the things that, you learn, and it's like, okay, what you're doing is you're looking to hire the right people that will take your mission statement and your culture and do good things with it, right? To take it forward. When there is nothing there, and how do you bring people in? What do you teach them, or how do you find like-minded people? Because we talked about, okay, things aren't necessarily a conspiracy, they can be, but the greater threat is when there is a similar mindset and culture that is deeply embedded in, we talked about it over the years, in the Department of Justice or whatever it might be that gets to the weaponization. But in the political setting, and you want to bring people in that are like-minded, that believe in what you're doing, but you don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing.
There's nothing there, so where is their passion going to be? How do you find someone with a shared passion for something that is a facade?
Wow, that should be the motto. There's nothing there.
Exactly.
Remember that.
And that's it. There really isn't. And you can't find, in fact, an entire group, because the only purpose then is what? Okay, hate Trump. But the problem is the toxicity that surrounded Trump.
It's gone.
It's over.
It's gone.
It gets back to the question of, all right, what is it that we really want done? What are you going to do? There are people that will always hate Trump because they're just in the mindset and they won't stop. And I don't know if they will ever have a Michael Rappaport moment, a guy who was once an angry liberal who then started doing his homework and recently admitted, look, I was believing the lies they were telling and about Trump and all of these things. But I don't know if people, will just, it's like you put something into motion in space, it's just going to keep going in that same direction and never change. But the fact is that you see a Republican Party right now that is open its doors. You have RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, but those two, by the way, are not the beginning. They're the political culmination of all of these liberals that we bring in. The Tulsi, Barry Weiss, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, other liberals who look at this.
Jonathan Turley,
Dershowitz. These are not people who, when I read the headline, the whole USA Today thing, people who work for Bush, Romney, and McCain are voting for. No. USA Today. Let me do this for you. The news would be if any of those individuals who worked for those individuals voted for Trump. That would be a breaking story, because I fully expect that those people are there. What you see here are people that are willing to. Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party before yesterday, but still coming on board and endorsing Trump. RFK Jr. didn't need to gain. He's likely not going to gain much, except for maybe some, getting some work done on his agenda, maybe. But personally, on a political level, he's not going to gain much by his alignment with Trump. I do believe he believes that that's the best way to get things done, the things that he, RFK Jr., wants done. I actually believe that he believes that. Whether they'll get done, whether they're important to you or not, isn't the point. The point is, what we're seeing are not just endorsements. What we're seeing aren't the expected, they've already been, they were always a more conservative Democrat that moved over, and no. What we're seeing are people that are absolutely done with their party. You look at the history of a Michael Rappaport, and I know we keep bringing up his name, but this guy was an angry, screaming angry liberal. And now he's opened his eyes, and I think he's been fairly honest about it. It took too long for my taste, but still, he was able to say, I was lied to and I bought the lies.
The other thing is these Democrats, like, the story yesterday, 200 members of the Bush and Romney, or, Romney
staffers,
whatever.
Yeah, workers.
That's like, okay, whatever. But you've got these big names that are just not endorsing Trump. They're campaigning for him now.
Yep. They're going to be on the road. They're going to be promoting him.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, we will get to the some of the words from Tulsi Gabbard yesterday as she endorsed not only his campaigning for Trump, but also as his debate advisor. So we'll have that coming up. More on the debate insanity from the left yesterday. What they went after Trump for yesterday. This is just mind-boggling. I mean, it's so bad what they're trying to do. And also the Zuckerberg letter to Jim Jordan. Yes, the Biden administration pressured them to censor even parodies and humor.
Right.
That and more on the way.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here, as always.
Thank you.
All right, coming up here, Tulsi Gabbard and her words in endorsing Trump, the letter that Zuckerberg of Facebook sent, Meta, sent to Jim Jordan yesterday on the fact that, the Biden administration did pressure him. The government pressured him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This one, though, this was written in the nation's longest liberal publication, The Nation. Ready for this?
All right.
Oh, my God, this is so damn entertaining. I'm sorry, but it is. Vice President Kamala Harris and her party's championing of football could cost them the election, according to a piece in the left-wing magazine The Nation that warned Democrats' attempt to co-opt football, which supposedly symbolizes conservatism, violence, and a brand of hyper-masculinity, of American hyper-masculinity, could backfire by alienating younger, more progressive voters. Well, that comes directly from Walz. We know we're behind. It's like it's first down from the 5-yard line. You got 95 yards to go. It's like,
well, I don't know. Isn't he scaring Republicans with his masculine identity? I mean, where are we going? Come on.
Well, we brought
liberal media.
We brought this up a couple of weeks ago when he was first introduced, and the first picture of him, the first promotional picture from the campaign, was him in camouflage holding the gun with his hunting hat on.
The campaign hat changed to camouflage when he was brought on.
And the narrative was Republicans can't handle a masculine Democrat.
Right.
Well, as we said at the time, remember, that's their stereotype, okay? We're responding to their stereotype. Because I guess you can still be masculine without a gun or without camouflage, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
Is our judgment... Now, I laugh saying this because I don't think I've ever spent any time in my life meeting somebody and let me judge his masculinity. But I haven't done research on that. How many points do I need here to define whether that person, that male, is a masculine figure?
Gee, Dan, you're not wearing camouflage. I don't see a gun in your hands. I'm not sure we can hang out anymore, man.
You're not a man. We want a man. And so this came again from the Democrats and from the media promoting it. Well, we got to late last week, and Dana Bash was saying that Republicans are scared because that Waltz now is defining a new type of masculinity. After he came out prancing, turning around and jumping with his hands flailing in the air, and I made the analogy, my God, that's exactly the body movements of Richard Simmons, the late Richard Simmons, who, again, we said, we're not making the judgment. They are. And God rest his soul, as we've said many times before. You met him before. I never met him, but
yeah,
I think he did tremendous work in helping, especially women, lose weight.
We did a couple of events together in my radio years. Yeah. It was a great guest. And people, man, you talk about rock star.
Right.
Yeah, he was definitely a rock star.
But because of that is when Dana Bash came out, because that was all over the place. And then remember was it late last week or was it over the weekend? I can't remember. When the side by side came out with Waltz and Richard Simmons, and it's like, okay, yeah, we can see it. And then it became from not that Waltz is masculine anymore, by whatever their definition of labeling that group, that now he belonged to the new group of masculine men that don't have the stereotypical traits of a masculine man, that the more effeminate traits now define you as a masculine man that the Republicans are now afraid of. So the Republicans were both afraid of him as the hunter man or the sweating to the oldies man.
It's got to be one of them. Again, they are in exploratory committee mode on this campaign. They're throwing out everything to see what works and what doesn't work. And they do a 180 on it. It just seems like everything.
Here we go. In a Monday essay titled "The Dark Side of the Democratic Party's Embrace of Football," and authored by the nation's sports editor, David Zurin, the magazine slammed the Democratic Party's embrace of football as a symbol of patriotism during its 2024 convention last week, owing to the sport's brutality. According to Zarin, the hyper-masculinity and violence of football connects to Kamala Harris's bellicose convention speech, as he cautioned that it could repel young voters who are committed to the progressive values the party claims to uphold. The article highlights how football has traditionally been a cultural stronghold of conservative values in America, often celebrated by the right as a symbol of rugged masculinity and resistance to social change. One of the universally accepted truths of right-wing media is that the left is coordinating a war on football, it states. Well, it seems like you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also notes that Trump has been linked to the sport.
He's actually attended games, watched games before.
A sport that emphasizes strength, toughness, and the rejection of a scheme to soften America.
The rejection of a scheme. I love that.
Oh, my God. This was their sport, Zarin writes, describing football as hostile to social change, comfortable with violence. And by the way, it's not violence. It's a contact sport.
Yeah, right.
It's a physical contact sport. It's not violence.
No.
And guarding the development not only of players, but of American masculinity itself. The piece notes the bewilderment among conservatives as Democrats now claim football for themselves, using it as a symbol of patriotism and teamwork in their efforts to defeat Trump in the upcoming election. How confused, how utterly rattled these conservatives might be at the moment, he writes. Democrats are claiming football for themselves, presenting the sport as not only patriotic, but as a potent symbol of the kind of teamwork needed to take down Donald Trump. The shift was seen at the DNC, he notes, where Minnesota governor and Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, a former defensive coordinator, was prominently featured. Methinks he's overthinking here.
Yeah.
According to Zarin, the sight of coach, signs, and chant filling the convention hall, along former players joining Waltz on stage in their old jerseys, underscores the party's attempt at flipping the pigskin script on the cultural icon that is football. The event also prominently featured Texas senatorial candidate and former NFL player Colin Allred in what the author argued would be seen as an attempt to appeal to the wider electorate by leveraging a symbol that resonates deeply with many Americans. Let me ask you this. Did you ever vote for a candidate whose you disagreed with on the major issues but played football, Eric?
No.
Yeah, neither have I.
No.
Oh, but as we say, imagery is everything to Democrats. Imagery is everything.
Well, they have to work so hard, though. Liberals have to really work so hard at painting a picture and then, basically of something and then tearing it down. It's just football. But you've got to build this, again, demonization of it, where the fact, the facts of it all are pretty clear. It's a game. We understand it. We've understood it for decades. We know what it's about. It's about competition. Oh! That's the problem they have with it.
They didn't mention competition.
They keep score. There's the problem you have, is that they keep score. That somebody wins, somebody loses. Right, Gary? Somebody loses.
Mm-hmm.
What was the meme you saw just a few minutes ago before we went on the air? At the it was Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl appearances since '96. Zero.
Taylor Swift
won. But it really is when you look at, because what happens, right? You see kids watching football. They grow up watching football. They play football. They want to get into competitive sports. They know, they learn about winning and losing. But no, we've got to make it. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. But they create something and then apply it where it doesn't. It's Trump's association. He's a known associate of football.
Yes. Orange man like football. Not referring to Syracuse.
Right. There is the ridiculous part of it is this is how you know. I mean, we're closing in now on 2 months out. And there's your headline. Donald Trump is associated with football. They've got a nothing candidate. They've got a nothing campaign. And they're angry as hell about it. They really are. They're frustrated that they didn't leapfrog over Kamala Harris and get some. I don't know who that other person would have been.
You know what their problem with football is? It's based on merit.
Yeah, keeping score. Earn it. You gotta win, you've got to earn it.
Not even winning. To get the job,
you gotta win.
It's meritocracy.
Yeah.
You just don't
get better.
You just don't get appointed to the position.
That's my point with kids watching it going, oh, okay. If I want to make it to the NFL one day, I've got to put in the work. I got to do it. I got to win. They don't like that because it requires keeping score. It requires kids learning about how competition.
I was more
winning
referring to you have to earn it instead of her just being appointed by the people in charge.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it applies there. Yeah, direct.
It applies both ways, but my point was adding on to your point.
Right, and it's competition again, and she's not able to compete because she didn't earn it. She didn't get one vote. Not one. And here she is, prom queen. Wow.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let's talk to Kiel in Jacksonville, Florida. Kiel, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good
morning.
You know us. We're always having fun. Thanks for calling.
I love the show.
Thank you.
I'm not going to take up too much time. I just wanted to throw out there that I feel like as an African-American, as a black person, I feel like even though the Democrats use it and we often refer to it as race baiting, I feel like on the Republican side, it's an untapped resource. At the end of the day, you know, they've been drinking the Democratic Kool-Aid forever. I feel like if we could just be constantly, just like they are, shooting things out there, just little bits of history from the beginning, from even from slavery, how that was the South versus the North, and so on and so forth, different programs, how they've done nothing but harm us, what they're doing now. Just there's a lot of people who are just uninformed, you know, and it's scary, but I feel like that's something that, still campaign and all of that there, but just putting bits of information out there because there are just so many people and they're only hearing their other narrative.
Yeah.
No, it's something that if you've listened to the show for a while that we've been pounding for years, that the identity politics of judging people by groups and not individuals is a racism you see today, which has now gone to, the anti-Semitism that is now growing in the Democratic Party. But, we're at the point of 2024. Judge people as individuals. Judge people by as we like to say, by the content of their character and by the substance of their arguments, since we're in talk radio. But yeah, you treat people as individuals. And that's the thing. I think 90% of Americans do that. They treat people, when somebody meets you, they treat you by who you are, not by the group that you represent.
Right.
So politics, we believe, should do the same thing. And the Democrats have been promoting identity politics where they judge people by the group that they're in, not as an individual. And that's just got to stop. And Republicans, you're absolutely right. We've been pounding on this for years. They seem to always be on the defensive about race, and they don't have to be. You agree?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Kiel.
Thank you.
We greatly
Appreciate it.
appreciate your call.
Yeah,
and, it's something that I think is getting a little more play. I think Ramaswamy has done a good job. One of the things that he did when he was in Chicago, he had gone when he was still during the primary, when he was still in the race officially. He had gone into the neighborhoods of Chicago and talking to people and having conversations like he does with anybody. It's the same conversation, I think, anywhere you go. And he said back then, and he reposted that X post from back in February. I promised the people of those neighborhoods I would come back, and so then when he returned during the convention, there might have been a little trolling going on there, but no, I mean, I think it's important to have those conversations with people, and also to, go have those conversations in those neighborhoods and find out what's going on. One of the things that happened after the 2016 election is the Wall Street Journal went into Harlem and asked, why do you think Trump won and Hillary did not? And one of the common threads in the answers was he was focused on things here at home and she was focused on things abroad. If you're not getting that kind of feedback, that real feedback as to what's going on in neighborhoods and talking to people, then you're going to miss a big chunk of the voting population.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I don't know whether this is just on, I didn't see this in National Review, but I just saw this on Twitter, just the headline from Jim Garrity, so you know there's humor. Ready? Mm-hmm. Just the headline. I haven't read it. I just saw this 5 seconds before we came on the air. Harris's convention speech was terrific for a challenger running against the failed record of President Biden.
Yeah. I saw that earlier. And I love that. Yeah, if you were giving a speech as an opponent to Biden. But, it kind of goes along with what we were saying, that you have to position it as if Donald Trump is responsible for everything right now. And so the way that he phrased it, though, is really great, because it really is targeting Biden. But they wanted you to believe last week at the convention that Trump caused all this, almost as if Trump is currently the president.
That's what they're trying to convince the American public of,
right? That
Trump is the incumbent.
And that she is not part of the current administration.
Yep.
That is a running and hiding game politically that I've never seen, but we all know why it's happening.
Well, this is what happens because we always wondered, when you can't win on the issues anymore, how do you run? And we're seeing it now. When the American public disagrees with you on the issues, because if they agreed with you on the issues, you'd be out there every day promoting it.
Oh, yeah.
Trump is out there promoting what he believes every single day.
You couldn't keep me from the media,
right?
If I had jumped in, because it requires normally that kind of conviction. You have to carry that with you. What you have here is a big nothingness. You have. I told you during the break, this is a lot like Theranos. Elizabeth Holmes telling the world she's going to do something that has never been accomplished at all. Investors jump on board, billions of dollars invested, and in the lab they're going, we can't, it's not happening. This is not even possible. There's nothing, and that's literally what was going on.
This is a Theranos campaign.
It's a Theranos campaign.
Wow, that's great.
Elizabeth Holmes was doing panel discussions wearing the black turtleneck, mimicking Steve Jobs from back in the day, talking, and people were listening to her as if really, when it comes to technology and healthcare, she was the second coming. People were saying, we don't know why this hasn't been done before. And in the lab, we were going, we do. We know why.
Right.
Because it's not happening now. It's impossible to do what they say, number one, we're going to do, and then eventually they were saying they were actually doing, and they were defrauding people and making them, the story is nightmarish on that level, but politically, that's exactly what this game is. You've got nothing. You're promising the world something. Everybody is clapping and applauding, going, we can't believe, this is a miracle. This is a miracle. This is a miracle, until it all falls out from the inside because there is nothing there.
I just realized the whole Theranos situation was absolutely the perfect example of what my father said to me back in 1969.
Mm-hmm.
He's still alive, just so people know, my 98-year-old father, who, by the way, is doing great. And thanks, I posted him in another conversation at our great breakfast place and at Marty's in Clarence Center, New York, having a discussion with my brother-in-law. And thanks for the nice comments on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my father said, you're going to find out in life people want to be BS'd. And that's the Harris campaign right now, and that was Theranos. All right, let's get to what happened yesterday. I want to make there's so much going on, we can't get everything in a 5-hour show, believe it or not. But we got to get this in. This is Tulsi Gabbard yesterday endorsing Trump.
It is a privilege to be here with all of you, my brothers and sisters in uniform, especially on this day of all days. I had the privilege of joining President Trump this morning at Arlington Cemetery, where he joined 2 Gold Star families and loved ones of Staff Sergeant Hoover and Sergeant G, both of whom were 2 of the 13 killed in the Abbey Gate attack 3 years ago today in Kabul. And I can tell you, as we were there, as he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, joining these Marines' loved ones, I felt the sorrow that he shared with them in their loss. I felt and saw his sincere appreciation for these servicemen and women who paid the ultimate price, and their loved ones who continue to grieve to this day. This is personal for me, as I know it is for so many of you here. This is real. It's not just words. I first deployed to Iraq in 2005 with the Hawaii Army National Guard as a member of Charlie Med. As those of you who were deployed during that time know, it was the height of the war, and sadly, we took many casualties. And every day we were confronted with that high human cost of war and that sadness as we boarded the plane when we left, that we were leaving some of our brothers and sisters behind, only to lose others when we got home to suicide. So I mean what I say when I share with you that I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives. Whether you're a soldier, you're an airman, a Marine, sailor, or a coastie, he keeps us in his heart in the decisions that he makes. We saw this through his first term in the presidency, when he not only didn't start any new wars, he took action to de-escalate and prevent wars. He exercised the courage that we expect from our commander-in-chief in exhausting all measures of diplomacy, having the courage to meet with adversaries, dictators, allies, and partners alike in the pursuit of peace, seeing war as a last resort. The truth is, as we head towards our decision as a country in November, the same cannot be said about Kamala Harris. In fact, the opposite is true, and we're living through this reality today as this administration has us facing multiple wars on multiple fronts and regions around the world, and closer to the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House, where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief. Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president. President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target, added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about what kind of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president. We as Americans must stand together to reject this anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power. We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future.
Well, there it is.
Yeah, again, what you see here, what I take from both announcements, RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard.
And I'll even say Brett Weinstein, too. Can throw him in there yesterday.
Sure. But as two individuals that have run officially and understand what it takes to actually campaign.
Okay, you're talking politics. You're right.
Right.
Yes.
And that's kind of the culmination of bringing, it represents, I think, and gives it maybe greater leverage to Weinstein and I think a number of these liberals who have looked at their former party and said, we must stop this kind of behavior. If you're somebody who's on the left and you've always voted as a Democrat, you have to ask yourself, why? Is it the hatred for one man? And then what is it that you actually know versus what you've been told? Do you have any interest in the truth? You can't disregard pure hatred for an individual. That's going to exist. And I think, unfortunately, with some people, you're not going to change it. But others are changing, and they're changing unsolicitedly. This is happening. Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party long before the announcement yesterday. These are the things where you look at and you say, what is the future of this country, and which party is it that decided they were going to weaponize the Department of Justice, that they were going to, and now, again, more information yesterday on Zuckerberg's letter of how they will do anything to control the narrative, to control the language, to control how people speak. We played the piece from Jon Stewart earlier, which is telling. But one of the things that Jon Stewart did, too, was going on Colbert and talking about the lab leak theory. And that really crushed the iceberg I think that was the beginning of the end of that. We will shut you down if you even question the origins of COVID. If you think about that, think about this. Going after a former president on 34 counts of zero, the Russian hoax, COVID,
impeachment,
and impeachment twice.
The impeachment number one, we were talking about how what the Republicans came out with last week. You know, we said we've always believed that Trump was getting too close to the Biden family.
Yep.
And what was going on with Ukraine, and now we know that was true.
And that absolutely, we suspected that from the beginning, because if you look at the who was how that phone call was populated with then incoming president of Ukraine and everything else, and who was on that, it was somebody in the CIA who had served very closely with Joe Biden as vice president, and we said that sounds like somebody. Trump was getting way too close to the fire, and it turns out that we were right on that. Think about these massive moves by people in power. This is the abuse of power like we have never seen. If we don't stop it now, we never will, and everybody is a potential target. There are no exceptions to that rule.
86690 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, the Zuckerberg letter to Jim Jordan saying, the government was trying to get me to censor, and pressuring him, and we'll get to all of that. Plus, the Republicans held a forum on the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump yesterday. Really some interesting moments there.
Yeah.
Dan Bongino, who works for our company, just so people know, was one of the witnesses, former Secret Service. And, wow, hit him really hard. Made a great point. We'll have some of the audio coming up where he just said, we're still talking about JFK. And
yeah,
this thing seems to have disappeared, where nobody in the media, nobody cares about the failures of the Secret Service. Because that's just amazing. We're more obsessed with JFK than we are what just happened a little over a month ago.
Right. It's maddening.
Yep.
Maddening.
We'll get to that coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. One of the things we were talking about yesterday is not understanding the left's narrative and how people think. And this gets into not the party. Well, it does. Part of it's the party, but also the voter. And saying, you know, they've gone quiet. Mm-hmm. You don't see much from the average person. You see, you know, the professional trollers and the professional partisans on social media.
Yeah.
But as I said, I know a lot of people like you do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of acquaintances that I have on social media, many of them liberal. They were vocal during Obama. They were vocal during Trump's first term. Completely quiet right now. Completely nothing. They don't say anything about politics. Nothing. It's all gone. You ask the question, why? Are they disturbed by what's going on at their party? You know, you and I have talked about identity politics a lot. Brett Weinstein, yesterday, the former professor from Evergreen University, who is a lifelong liberal, we've talked about him before, said a lifelong liberal, lifelong Democrat, said the Democratic Party is the racist party. It's something that we've said for the longest time based on their identity politics. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about the way that nothing that they do, everything is vicious hate. We've talked about how the liberals love Trump. Trump really has not changed his position on the issues at all, yet he is this incredibly demonized figure in American politics. He hasn't been the only one. Remember, Bush was Hitler too. People forget about that.
Right.
Remember the famous Bill Maher quote. Well, yeah, we said that Bush was Hitler and Romney was Hitler, but Trump really is.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's just move to the next one. The two others we were lying to you about, but this guy really is. Which,
we
of course,
really mean it this time.
Right. We really mean it this time, which is completely and totally ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But we were talking yesterday and said, you see the unhinged people out there. You can't even discuss with them anything. They don't want to hear it. You see it especially with right now, if you want to see where it's prominent in the Democratic Party, it's the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
Well, please tell me about it. How can you be? You're asking a question. You're transphobic. What are you talking about? I'm simply asking a question. That's wrong. Why is it wrong to ask a question? Because if you ask a question, transgenders have the highest rate of suicide or attempted suicide, and you're going to cause people to die. Well, then you seem to have a problem there. There seems to be a mental problem going on. There's no mental problem. See, your transphobia comes out again. And it's like, what? You can't figure this out. And you're like, well, but I'm just trying to genuinely find out. Well, as we all know what's going on, they can't defend where they stand, and so they throw that out. But there's such anger in there. And I've come to the conclusion, based on the fact of the identity politics, the Jewish hatred that we now see today as it's morphed into it, that's because that's what happens when people hate. Because when you hate, when you have a personality, when you are obsessed with your hate, nothing can get in. And that's what you're dealing with, to the point of yesterday when Trump visited the gravesite of Sergeant Nicole Leanne yesterday, and the family was surrounding him at Arlington National Cemetery. What is it, 2 years since Afghanistan, since the deaths, or 3?
3?
Yeah. But the anniversary, and Trump is there with them. And he laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington, and then visited her website, among others. Well, there's a picture that the family apparently wanted to take. And two of the members of the every one of them is smiling. Big, broad smiles on their faces. Mm-hmm. Two of them are giving the rock on sign. Mm-hmm. Trump has his thumbs up. Lincoln Project, which, by the way, are not Republicans.
No.
They are far-left radicals that you can, that the whole thing, we're Republicans. No, you're not. You never were. Trump today with thumbs up at the grave of a soldier, disgraceful. You should see the liberals pretending that they care about soldiers here, but the insults at the Gold Star family for how they choose to grieve over the past few years and how they choose to remember their loved ones, which is, I can see the family going, Nicole, President Trump is here. Mm-hmm. What a great moment. What a celebratory moment. You're not forgotten. Everybody is smiling. He gives the thumbs up. Now, I don't know the context, but that's most likely what it is. It's not, as they're trying to put it, a disrespectful motion at all from the president or the family. And that's the thing that happened. It first came out that Trump, disgraceful, disrespectful. And then it was pointed out by other people. The family is all smiling and giving the rock on sign. Mm-hmm. This is a Marine. And, the Marines are tough. The family's tough. They're celebrating the life of their family member. And I know this because a couple of my best friends who died when I was young. My mom, when we go to the grave site, there's a heck of a lot of smiles there. Why? You're celebrating, you're remembering the good times, but you're celebrating their life. Who the hell believes that they have a right to sit there for a Gold Star family and assume they know what the hell is going on? This is the hatred of the left, the absolute hatred, the vile hatred of the left.
And the arrogance that reigns on the left, too, that they know better than you how to grieve your lost loved one.
Yeah, you're right. But I had to bring it up because, this is an official post on X from the Lincoln Project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know better than you. By the way, the basis for their entire organization, as they tell the world, and they're lying, they're pretending that they were conservatives and that they're anti-Trump, they're liberals. They are a liberal organization. Yeah. So there can be no mistake. But the very basis of it was, we are higher than that. We are greater than that. We know better. And in this case, now applying it to the family, this Gold Star family, that was looking clearly, if you watch, if you see it, if you see the photo that was taken, they're looking to celebrate the life of their lost loved one, and the Lincoln Project can't have that.
Nope. Lincoln Project can't have that. Just understand how reprehensible and vile and evil these people are. Because all of us, you look at it, you see her gravesite, you see the flowers, you see the American flag ribbon there, and then you see the family behind it, all smiling, giving the rock on sign, which you probably would expect from a Marine's family, would you not?
Right.
And Trump there, being there, giving the thumbs up. It's great to be here. That's what I get out of it. I'm honored to be here. That's what I got.
He was basically mimicking the spirit of the family in that moment.
He will, absolutely. And so when that's the thing, when you go down through the comments on the post and that's pointed out, are you looking at the family? They're smiling. It's the rock on sign by a few of the members of the family. They're celebrating the life, obviously, of this heroic Marine. And then you saw the hits coming at the family. The family isn't grieving properly. Who the hell are you to tell anybody how to grieve for a member of their damn family? Excuse my language, but it just gets
nothing
me angry.
Gets my blood boiling than like something like that. That arrogance. Well, that's not appropriate. Says who? Who the hell are you? When all this fell out, when this went down in Afghanistan 3 years ago, the reverberating effects of it even before you talk about the unbelievable grief of these Gold Star families, our allies around the world, they looked at it and said, what in the world just happened? It was so frustrating. I was so angry in that moment. I think many Americans were. I can't even imagine what it's like for those Gold Star families. And the anger and sadness combined, we've seen some of them talk about it and their frustrations with Biden and the Biden administration. And then 3 years later, one of the families trying to just celebrate their lost loved one in the way, by the way, only a family would know how to do. That's going to be whatever the personality of that person was.
And the relationship.
And their legacy is with them. That is something that you can't experience unless you're family. You can't know unless you're family or close to that family. And then the arrogance coming from the outside. How dare you do that? How dare you? Who the hell are you?
I know. But this is what
and the Lincoln Project looking to, I don't know, boost their profile on social media by going after a Gold Star family because they're with Trump. You guys should just quit. You should end all of your social media pages now because that's reprehensible. There is no excuse for this at all. You should apologize to that family publicly where everybody can see it. But you won't.
How about the Taliban project?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen that, just absolutely infuriating. And then you think about, we've talked about it. The witnesses, the soldiers that were there that said, they saw the suicide bomber and could not get the order to shoot.
Right.
And then Biden lying to the American public about
what the American public
what the generals told him.
And lied to the Americans that were living in Afghanistan, some of whom were left behind.
Yeah.
And did so repeatedly. And wanted the then government and leadership in Afghanistan to help him lie.
Yeah.
I don't have any measurement for that kind of dereliction of duty as a commander-in-chief. In ignoring your own, in fact, helping to usher in the very danger that took those American lives.
When those soldiers testified about what happened at Abbey Gate, and it's almost unwatchable because you can see the frustration. They were there, and they could have solved the problem, and they couldn't get a decision from their commanders.
Right.
Well, they did get a decision from their commanders, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
The no decision was a decision.
It was.
Nobody getting back to them to communicate what the order should be when they said, we believe we've got the suicide bomber in our sights right now.
Yep.
And then, like I said, Biden lying over and over again about what his generals told him to do in Afghanistan. And then when they finally testified that, no, we all told him we need to stay.
Yeah.
With a, force of roughly 2,500, keep the air base because we're the ones, you can't do this because you create another terrorist hotspot. And the casualties are almost non-existent of American soldiers in there when they were there.
At that point, right.
That they were there, yeah.
Right.
And it's just, that
and
lie.
now we've learned,
and the media didn't care.
Nope.
Didn't
and there's
care.
multiple levels of proof that we have created, that Biden created, a terrorism superstate now in Afghanistan.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio, and he's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. As the House Judiciary Committee said yesterday, the GOP part of the House Judiciary Committee, Mark Zuckerberg just admitted 3 things. The Biden-Harris administration pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Number 2, Facebook censored Americans. Number 3, Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story. And we'll get to that letter coming up here in just a little bit. What else we have? The hearing on the Secret Service yesterday, and some audio from there. More on some of the Gold Star mother who was on CNN yesterday and told CNN Kamala Harris is responsible for the botched withdrawal. So we'll get to that, the Biden administration, and with Kamala Harris, because that quote was all over the place, where she agreed completely with the president and what he did. Mm-hmm. That's a tough sell. As we said, when you say you agree with the president, that means you agree with the lie.
Right.
That he told the American public.
Right.
Over and over again, that he followed the specific orders and not orders, the specific opinions of those in charge in the military that told him to pull out, and that was a lie. They all told him to stay. Every single one told him to stay,
yep.
And he lied to the American public about that. So that more on the way.
Call and join the conversation. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. I do want to play just a little bit of this audio, Eric. It's from the Gold Star mother of Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Christian Knaus, one of the 13 service members killed in Afghanistan 3 years ago. And I'm just going to play it because this was actually on CNN yesterday.
Right. And Paul, I know for you and many of the other family members of these 13 men and women, family members you've become very close to, that you want accountability. What would that look like to you?
Well, it would be great if the administration would start out by saying, we made a mistake. We made several mistakes. We did not make the best decisions. Instead, this administration has tried to sweep it under the rug, and that's absolutely not going to work for this nation nor this world who watched this live on television. You can't deny what we all knew and saw.
Vice President Harris is now running to be commander-in-chief. I wonder, do you have a message for her?
You are with the whole administration in all of this. You hold the same accountability as President Biden does. You were right beside him in making these decisions. And if you say you're not, then what kind of leader are you going to be in the future if you didn't have the same decision making with him on this?
Paula, I wanted to ask you, because I've seen now many presidents who struggle to engage with Gold Star families who are angry with them. And yet these are men and women, these service members who died in the service of their country on orders from their commander-in-chief. How do you think that a president should engage with and honor the sacrifice of families like yours, even when, especially when, they don't see eye to eye with you?
Well, when I was eye to eye with President Biden in the White House Oval Office at his invitation, it would have been great if he would have leaned in and gave me a hug at the moment I was weeping in front of him. But he didn't. And so that marks a character issue. And that's what I really am looking for, is better character in the office for our president.
I want to ask you, because there's been a new development when it comes to this congressional investigation into the withdrawal. Jerry Dunleavy, who is a senior investigator for Republicans on the House committee, resigned in protest. He said the committee has failed to interview a number of witnesses from the military and State Department, from the Biden administration, and has helped a number of witnesses avoid accountability. I know that this is a committee that has listened to family like yours. You were able to testify before them. But this is a critic of the Biden withdrawal who is saying that Republicans are not doing enough. Do you think that the committee is doing everything it should?
Well, short of having our president walk away from the office prior to his finish of these 4 years, I think that we have done quite a job of at least making Americans aware of what they already actually knew, and that is the failure of this administration.
You want policy changes. That's one of the three things that you talked about wanting before Congress. What kind of policies are you looking to change, whether this is this incoming administration is Republican or Democrat?
Well, how about we shut down the border around the United States of America? How about we vet those who are coming in illegally or being welcomed in by this administration that are illegal immigrants, that we have no idea, they have not been vetted, and we are now at a crisis in our country from crime, from things that are happening that makes people fearful in our own nation's borders. How about we start with our nation first, giving our nation safety before we run off and do any other foreign policies right now? How about we protect the United States of America?
There you go. Gold Star mother of Staff Sergeant Ryan Christian Knaus, who was killed 3 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, again, I can't imagine the frustration that has gone on all this time, and no answers. No, of course they're not going to take responsibility. It's not going to happen that way. And I think an interesting point that she made when it comes to Kamala Harris, and that is, okay, either you're essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, either you're part of that and okay with how it all played out, or you're not. And if you're not, what would you do differently? What would you have done differently? And that really is one of the, I think, the type of questions that you would ask Kamala Harris if we were in a real situation. But now the media has closed the door. Think about this. It's one thing for a campaign to shut the door on the media. Now the media itself is building a wall around the campaign, and it's clear. Okay, we'll just, they're building all the excuses for her to not have to talk to them. Tell me how this ends well. It can only come from people voting because they hate Trump. That's it. For one reason, you're not going to vote for Trump. And you don't care anything about how Kamala Harris would run the country.
No, you don't accept the fact that we know that her policies probably of what she would like to implement from what she has said and what she supported during the Biden administration would be further left than even this administration has gone.
She's going to take the ball and run with it, and that means more of the same, but much further left, and there's really no way around that. She's not going to come back to the she's not going to all of a sudden become a conservative or become a moderate. That's not going to happen.
No, she isn't going to be tough on border control.
Nope.
We all know that.
No.
I want to play this audio here. This is from the House Republicans hosting a forum on the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Former Secret Service member Dan Bongino, who's also a radio talk show host. He's a colleague of ours at Westwood One. Testified yesterday. Let's hear a couple of his comments.
5 minutes, so I want to keep it quick, and I want to make 3 points. I worked in the Secret Service for 12 years. I loved it. I worked with some really amazing men and women who gave everything. I mean, a couple of them literally gave everything. I know guys who've gotten bizarre diseases overseas, like chikungunya fever and protection operations. Everybody gave a little bit of something in the Secret Service, and it was a real honor to say I was part of it. But they have 3 institutional problems, I believe, in the macro will help us get to the bottom of how this Secret Service apocalyptic failure won't happen again. First, they have a technology problem. The joke in the Secret Service, which is sadly no longer funny when I was there, and it wasn't funny then either, is they rely on yesterday's technology tomorrow. Think about that. Yesterday's technology tomorrow. Everything from computer systems at waste agents' times, filling out time and attendance records they were doing, to Congressman Crane and I discussing the fact that they only implemented slings, a technology as old as the wheel, about, 5 or 6 years into my time in the Secret Service, which is embarrassing. The weaponry was old. Everything was old. These are things I would have talked about sooner if they didn't create a security crisis, and I obviously didn't want to air them publicly. Now you're seeing what happens when you don't have a drone up at a site you could have bought for $39.99 on Amazon. Second, another adage in the Secret Service, you've heard even the new acting director discuss, is the more with less approach. There is no more with less. There's less with less, okay? The Secret Service more with less approach only works if you produce more. That's how capitalism works. You produce a flat screen TV that was probably 20 years ago $10,000. It's $200 at Walmart now. They produce a better TV with less. That's not what the Secret Service did. They produced less with more. They were given more money and produced less. A 20-year-old criminal outsmarted them on a $40 drone technology piece of device. You're telling me that's more with less? That's disgusting. That's nothing with less. That's less with more. Their budget went up. You guys know you're appropriators. You know that. Third, and I'll wrap it up with this, turn it over to Mr. Prince. The investigative mission, the Secret Service, that they're telling you they need to make them better agents is total crap. That's garbage. Their agents are talented, smart people. They can figure out how to do protection without running out cheap $20 counterfeit notes at 7-Eleven on a Friday night while the president's getting shot in the head. How is it we have a DEA, we have an FBI, we have TIGTA, the IRS, CBP, and 1,000 other entities with a $6 trillion budget, which I know a lot of you guys have been fighting against this grotesque spending. $3 billion goes to the Secret Service, and we're wasting time running out counterfeit notes. It's a serious problem, counterfeiting. Granted, it might be a legacy item. They started doing counterfeiting. That's not what we do now. Get rid of the investigative mission, turn it over to other people, let them do what they do best and should do best. Protection. Thanks a lot for your time.
All great points.
Yep.
One of the points he made when he was having a back and forth with, I think it was Matt Gaetz, he said, it's really incredible. because right now everybody's talking about JFK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're talking about something that happened 61 years ago. There's more concern about that than a president who just was by, what is the measurement of the bullet away from
quarter of an inch
that, as Bongino said, from blowing his head off.
Yeah.
And it's like gone. The media's not covering it. Nobody's covering nobody's seriously saying, hey, not even because because it concerns Trump, because if it was a Democrat or Biden, they'd be all over it.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact is, this will affect any future Democrat president.
Yeah. If you don't get to the bottom of this failure and fix the cause of the failure, then it's bound to be repeated. Very simple equation. It's frustrating. And we talked about how the conspiracies or the theories that started immediately, how do you discount any of them? If you don't get to the truth, then everything has to be considered.
When government consistently lies and covers up, then don't get angry at the people that start saying, well, here's a hypothetical, which becomes a conspiracy theory when they can't get the damn truth out of you.
Well, and there seems to be no urgency to get to the bottom of this.
No.
Which makes it look like a cover-up.
Yep. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, we talked about the Starbucks new CEO, but we need to mention that you talk about making the wrong move from day one. You saw the whole thing that he's promoting the fact that he's going to work remote and he's going to fly his jet.
Yeah, they call them super commuting CEOs.
Yes. I'm sorry. He's not working remote. Mm-hmm. He's going to live such a long distance away where every day he will take a jet plane to work and then back home from work. This is Starbucks now. And Wall Street Journal wrote an article on it. The story is actually about a week old. Starbucks' new CEO has a big carbon footprint. If you're going to become the CEO of Starbucks, you can't leave a big carbon footprint. And if you do, you can't ever promote it.
No.
Do we have to do everything?
Well, it just makes me wonder where they're going. I mean, are you just going to completely do a 180 at Starbucks? They're going to tell all the hippies to get out?
Starbucks touts its decades-long commitment to find solutions to mitigate the impacts of climate change, and he was promoting it. He was promoting it.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
Wow. Complete lack of self-awareness. Do you understand what company you're going to work for?
Super commuter. Wow.
I know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And by the way, and it was the liberal CNBC who used the words super commuter. I thought, well, you guys are making him out to be some kind of, sounds like a hero. He's a super commuter. How about super planet killer? Oh, that's no hero.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.